This is a Heart and Hand production. Hello everyone, it's David here with a breaking news update, and that news is of course that Lawrence Shankland has been appointed the Rangers captain, taking over from James Tavernier, who departed at the end of last season. Lawrence, of course, a boyhood Rangers supporter, joined in the summer there from Hearts and will assume the duties of the captaincy. And joining me to discuss it is Colin McMillan. Hello, Colin.
Hello, David. Yeah, I've been waiting for this news to come out for a while now, haven't we? Just curious as to who the manager would pick. Certainly a few options, so I'm glad it's out there and we know who it is ahead of the first game.
First of all, what an honour for him. You know, he's one of us. And the armband to any Rangers fan has a special resonance, doesn't it? You think of the great players that have worn it in the past, some of the legends that have had that honour, and he must be on cloud nine.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, everybody, depending on your age, has your own Rangers captain, the way you've got your own Rangers manager, I guess, just depending on what you grew up with and what resonates. And it's a great moment for him, great moment for his family, and something that he'll be super, super proud of. So, I mean, before you discuss the rights and wrongs of it, or whether a striker should be or anything like that, that's an important thing just to say. This is a guy who thought he was living his dream already, finally getting the transfer to us. He's probably surpassed that dream today, and congratulations to him. What a moment.
You brought up a lot of interesting points here, and we'll start off with the first one, which is the importance of the captaincy. The import of the captaincy. There, I confused my two words there. But as we know in modern football, a lot of traditional things tend to get downplayed, and certainly abroad culturally it's not as big a thing. And for example, the Spain team, it goes automatically to the person with the most caps. That's their tradition. But I don't think you should underplay this, because my argument has always been, when people say, is the captaincy that important? I'm like, well, it's important to the fans, and therefore we make it important. So yeah, it is. Do you know what I mean? I know that's a bit circular, but I think it's also the reality. It's all right, the club or any manager coming in saying, I don't think the captaincy is important. But my argument has always been, well, there's 50,000 people out there who do think that. And therefore, if you're just going to ignore that, hell mend you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because why would you ignore 50,000 voices when those 50,000 voices have got such an impact and so much power over your season? So it's a no-brainer to pick one, have one, and treat it with the respect it deserves. And I think at a club like ours, more than most, the role of captain is so important because of the demands of our club, David, because of the expectations, and not to mention because of the actual amount of conversations our captain's going to have with referees on a week-to-week basis as well.
Yeah.
It's a huge bloody thing. So across football, it might not be as important as it once was. There's a lot of talk of having many captains in each team and all that sort of stuff, and that definitely has its merits, but there's got to be a man. And we've now chosen Lawrence Shankland to be that guy. So yeah, hugely important for me.
He is, of course, an experienced captain. He was captain at Hearts for the last few seasons. So it's not a job that he's coming into without that leading experience. And again, people maybe don't realise as much. There's quite a lot of off-the-field stuff as well. The captain is the player's representative in discussions with the likes of Andrew Kavanagh and Jim Gillespie. There is a lot of match day work to be done on top of it as well, believe it or not, after the game. And I know that people think that's not important. That is important. You know, that's why they do it. If it wasn't important, they'd have scrapped it. And also, I think there's the whole representing the club, because you do become a figurehead, and that brings with it an extra pressure.
It absolutely does, yeah. And like you say, he's got the experience of that at Hearts, so it's not completely new to him. It's at a whole new level here, for sure, but he's got that experience to fall back on. He's also got that captain-manager relationship in place with Derek McInnes as well, which is also a huge thing. But yeah, in terms of just the off-field stuff, there's so much more that goes into it. And it's encouraging to hear some of the feedback I got from the Mygers Open Training Day on Monday around Lawrence Shankland was just how much he was with the fans during that day. Apparently he was the last one to go. He went round almost every day in that stand, got pictures done, autographs and all that. And that's a big part of captaincy.
Well over an hour, yeah. He stayed until every kid that wanted a pic or a photograph with him, a pic or an autograph got one.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it as well, and that's a good idea of the kind of guy he is, and that's one of the kind of characteristics you want from the captain. So it's a small thing that alone won't win his football matches, but it's all about these sort of marginal gains and these little bits that go towards probably why the manager's made this decision.
Now, you did mention there, of course, he's a striker, and traditionally, that hasn't always been the case that a forward is given the captaincy. The last one I can remember at Rangers really would probably be Brian Laudrup, in fact, for that brief spell that he was appointed captain, and then he, midway through the season, returned it to the returning Richard Gough. But it's not something that's quite so unusual. In the aforementioned Spain, it was Alvaro Morata captained them to their Euro Championship win, and of course Harry Kane, we've seen successfully captain England for a number of years now.
Yeah, it's not. I think if you're of a certain age, a certain vintage, you just think that it needs to be a centre half or a centre midfielder, and maybe that's just ingrained in you because that's what you're so used to seeing. But I think nowadays your striker is a lot more involved. If the game stops, there's plenty of opportunities for them to fall back, speak to referees, do what they need to do, set pieces that are in and about them as well. So I don't think it's as big as a deal as people think it is. It maybe just isn't one for the traditionalists, or it's maybe one for people to get their head around a little bit, but I don't think him being further up the park or sitting in that final third the majority of the time is going to hinder him. And to be fair, what we've seen of him close season so far, pre-season I should say, he's not been shy at actually coming back and getting involved in play and all that. So he's not going to be somebody just maybe stuck in the penalty spot all the games. It's not his play. So I don't see it being a big problem.
You mentioned something earlier that is quite interesting. These days, there is an actual on-field duty for the captain that is now specified. It was always there, but it's now he is the only player allowed to discuss things with the referee. Yeah, and we know that a bit of it goes on, but generally speaking, refs do stick to that, don't they? These days,
they push others away, don't they?
Yeah, they push others away and they wait, and or they'll summon the captain over. So there is that responsibility.
Yeah, and I guess somebody of his age and his career and his experience is a good guy to have that. You know kind of who he is and what he's all about and what this means to him, so that probably have a big part in it as well. The fact that he's a native English speaker probably is a good advantage to him as well in that regard as well. He ticks a lot of boxes for this job, and like you say, if the referee is going to wait now to speak to the captain only, the fact that he's further up the field most of the time, or we hope he's further up the field most of the time, wouldn't be a hindrance to it. So yeah, again, I don't think it's something to worry about or be concerned about. I don't think his positioning is going to keep his voice quiet.
You mentioned there that Derek McInnes had cycled the captaincy. He said he wanted to see what happened with it. And Rangers, of course, have signed a number of captains, Lawrence Shankland being one of them this summer. But Vanja Dragojevic was the Partizan Belgrade captain. Dan Neil was the Sunderland captain for a while. And he's also given it to Ben Godfrey and to Dujon Sterling this summer. So what you said there earlier about there should be captains all over the field, that is something Derek McInnes has said himself. And I think he's right. You can't simply have one and everybody else just make him out. You need guys to take charge. You want on-field leaders.
Absolutely, you do. You want Lawrence Shankland, of all the best in the world, can't drop back and speak to the defenders every 2 minutes. So you need somebody in the defence that can do that. You need somebody in the midfield that can do that. You need people responsible for certain different things. Different attitudes as well, and different personalities can display different sort of captain characteristics. I always go back to the old manager and assistant manager 1-2 with Steven Gerrard and Gary McAllister. Two very, very conflicting styles of how they spoke to the players and how they got stuff out of them. And I guess the same thing works in any sort of leadership group and player-based as well. You've got different ways of speaking, different ways of getting things done. We know in the past we've had leadership groups amongst the players. That fabled one is now all but broken up. And it's time for a new one. And these guys, Ben Godfrey, Lawrence Shankland, Dujon Sterling, Dan Neil and Ross McCrory seem to be the crux of that so far in terms of who we've used as captain so far, who we've given a shot at the armband to. And it's not I don't think it's a negative thing that it wasn't immediately obvious to Derek McInnes or that he wanted to give other people a chance. It just shows that we've got options there and we've got people that will stand up, be counted and do that role, armband or no armband. And the fact I've had the experience of having the armband just makes it that a little bit easier should Shankland ever not make a game or be out or whatever else. It means we've got other captains in supply ready to stand up or do the unofficial captain's job when needed, wherever they are on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think you can see that already with someone like Cammy Devlin, who's very much somebody who goes around and G's up players. But there are different ways of doing it. And then, of course, influence in the dressing room, influence on the training pitch, etc. And, obviously that's something that Lawrence Shankland will have. It's interesting that it is a new player, though. And I think that Rangers have openly admitted that a lack of leadership the past couple of seasons has hurt us. And sometimes when managers come in, they don't want to give it to a new player. They tend to prefer to give it to an existing player. But there weren't really many candidates, were there?
No, there wasn't. I mean, of the 5 that he's sampled, you've only got Dejon Sterling, and he's not a guy realistically you can rely on to be due to just not ability, but just his body and how often he can play
availability.
Football. Yeah, that's it. So I think you had to look out with it. I was speaking about this a couple of weeks ago, I think, with Cammy in one of the shows, and we were talking about the captaincy and who we thought it would be, and I did think he would buy someone, whether they were in the room or in the stadium already or still to be purchased, just because I think it's part of that whole clean break thing going forward, new regime, new era and all that sort of stuff. I think you do need a clean break from it, and somebody who's a new signing without any baggage, without any scar tissue, whatever you want to call it, or anything attached to them, I think it's a positive thing and a good move forward. So it doesn't surprise me, and I'm totally behind it.
Right then, folks, as I say, that's your breaking news update from us at Heart and Hand. Colin, thank you for jumping on.
Absolute pleasure. Always good to talk.
And all the best, of course, to Lawrence Shankland. We hope for a long and successful era under his captaincy. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, listener. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye. That was a Heart and Hand production.